In this exercise, we're going to create a plot layout tab with 3 viewports at 3 different scales, showing different features dimensioned using annotative dimensions. I'll begin by opening up the elevation drawing that I've created previously and deleting the title block and the borders and the dimensions, because we're going to create our own title block, borders, and dimensions on our Layout tab. I'll right-click on Layout tab 1 and go to the Page Setup Manager. I'm going to create a new layout, which I'll call B-Size layout, and it will have the Adobe PDF for the printer. It'll be an 11 by 17 paper size. The plot area will be layout, and the plot scale will be 1:1. I'll say OK. I'll say set current. As I do that, notice that the paper size gets bigger. I'm going to select this viewport and delete it because I'm going to create 3 more of my own. But before I do that, I'll create a border on the border layer using my rectangle command. And I'll also create a title block, a very simple title block, also on the border layer with my rectangle command. I'm going to go to the text layer and put in some simple text for my title block using my dynamic text DT with a middle center justification. I'll click in the center here, rotation angle of 0. My text here, I'll begin with my name, and it's coming in a little bit big. So what I'll do is I'll undo, go back here to my text style manager, and if I click on my text style manager, I'll select standard for the text type. Now you can see that my text style is the standard text style. It should make it a little bit smaller. Back to my dynamic text, J for justify, middle center. I'll click in the center there, rotation angle of 0. Put my name in for the first one. I'm going to copy these over to create the rest of them. And I'll keep going down here. It's probably good. I'll change the name of these, put the name of the class. Well, maybe we'll put the name of the college first, Miracosta College. We'll put in the class, Design 101. Put in the name of it here, elevation, and you can put whatever else you want in for the title block. To do the viewports, I'll type in viewports, brings up my viewport dialog box. I'm looking for the 3 below, which will give me 2 on top and 1 on the bottom. I'll pick 2 points to define the rectangle that creates those viewports within that rectangle. The first viewport, I'll double click to get into model space, is going to have a viewport scale of 3/8 of an inch equals a foot, and this is for my garage door. I'll pan over until the garage door is centrally located. The next viewport, I'll double click to get into model space, is the front door, and it has a scale of a 1/2 inch equals a foot. I'll also pan over to place that a little bit better. And then in the bottom viewport, this shows the entire elevation, and I'll give it a scale of 3/16 of an inch equals a foot. I can resize these viewports while I'm in paper space, and I want to size them to show just the features that need to be shown. So for this front door, I don't need to see everything here. I can scale it down a little bit. Notice I am in paper space. I can move it over a little bit, perhaps to here. I can move it over a little bit here. I do want to leave enough room for my dimensions. And I could do the same thing down at the bottom here. For my dimensions, I'm going to go to my dimension layer, and then I'm going to go to my dimension style manager. Command alias is D, enter. I'll start with my model space dimension style, and I'll create a new one from that. I'm going to give it a different name here. Perhaps I'll call it annotative. Call it annotative style. If I click the annotative button, that automatically makes it annotative. I'll say continue here. But notice if you go to the Fit tab, the only thing that I want changed is the annotative selection for scale for dimension features. It is checked already, so I'll say OK and set current. Now, when I place my dimensions, and I'll begin with a linear dimension here on the garage door, notice what happens with the scale of these dimensions. They're scaled perfectly, or at least they should be. Another linear dimension here for my front door. Notice the scale of the text is exactly the same. It adjusts. It adjusts annotatively. I'm going to make this viewport a little bit bigger, and then I'm going to move it up so it fits a little better in this area. And that will allow me to put another linear dimension in here to show the width of this door. I'll put one more linear dimension on the overall length of this house, 42 feet. Notice again that they're all the right size. Down at the status bar, I have my annotation visibility currently off, and I also have my automatically add scales to annotative objects when the scale changes off. And so that just only shows the dimensions in the view that I've created them, and in the view that they're properly scaled. I'm almost done with my drawing. I do want to put my viewports onto the correct layer, so I'll select them and put them onto the viewports layer. I also want to adjust this dimension here the 6 feet 8 inches, notice that the leader line, or the extension line rather, is on top of the object. If I select that dimension and right click and go to Properties, I can come down into the lines and arrows section and I can turn off that extension line so that it's no longer on the object line. And that's important to do because it will print that way. You'll have an extension line right on top of your object line and it doesn't look good. It's incorrect. Okay, lastly here I'm going to freeze my viewports layer so that they don't show. I'm going to save my work, and I'll save this as elevation layouts with dimensions, and I'll put my initials at the end. And then I'll print this from my layout tab. I can preview it first to see what it looks like. I can zoom in if I'd like and take a closer look at all those dimensions. Notice the thickness of the line weights differs from the object layer to the dimensions layer to the border layer, and that is correct. That's how I want it to appear. It looks very good, so I'll go ahead and hit print. It's going to print to an Adobe PDF, so it actually just saves that file, and after it creates it, it automatically pulls it up. I can rotate it about to display it properly. You do it counterclockwise here and make it a little bit bigger. Very good looking PDF, good looking drawing. I could print that from any printer I choose. I'll go ahead and close that. And that concludes our elevation layout with dimensions using annotative dimensions in 3 different scaled viewports.